In this third example of attacks in the value of SysFlow, we're going to be compromising this machine, similar to what we did in the previous video. We're going to start, in fact, we can even start here, the netcat on that port 444, waiting for this machine to get infected. But the way that we're going to be doing the infection in here is going to be different. This machine is going to execute a command. It's going to be doing a wget that it will bring a malicious security module that I created, and it's going to be installed in the kernel. And because of that, the security of that container, that host, and everything else, because the kernel is shared, will be compromised. And that's what I wanted to bring in the beginning of these videos, in which I mentioned on the whiteboard that the analogy of a container has everything to do with portability, but not for security. You think of a container where everything is enclosed and isolated from the other container. Not the case, because of that kernel being shared. So to situate ourselves better, let's actually do a host name here to see what is this machine. You see that that's the machine. We're going to access that via SSH from another terminal, and the IP address. Let's look for ENS33 here. Is here, ends in 177. And that's important because as we launch the container, that is going to get its own IP, and things are going to be different. So the trap is set here, and the netcat is ready to listen for the victim to connect to it. And we're going to be doing all these not from the host as we did before, but we're going to be launching a container, a privileged container, and that's the distribution Alpine, and here we are, right? If we do host name here, that's the name of the actual container. If we do if config, I'm not sure that I have if config, no, I do have it. Notice that the IP address ends in 2, so I'm definitely inside that container. Notice that this is a clean environment, and if I actually bring the wget command, this is the command again. The vector is not important here, that actually downloads that security KO. That's the security module that is actually malicious. Now, second phase of the attack is actually to install that security module. And we do it by issuing this command. In fact, if we do the ls now, we see that that security module is there, which wasn't before. So not only this container has been compromised, but also anything else that shares the kernel and this host. And if we go to the Kali machine, notice that I'm already into that virtual machine. In fact, if I do host name, you see that I'm in there. If I do if config, we see the actual IP address of the host machine, of the kernel. I mean, again, everything on this machine will be compromised. Let's actually see what are the offenses that Curera saw. So we clear all the offenses. Let's actually hit the refresh button and see what is it that it discovered, by virtue again of those rules that leverage on the fact that we installed SysFlow agent on that Ubuntu machine only at the host name. We don't have to do anything on the container. Everything permeates into it, and that we get a parser for SysFlow and rules that work along with that. And sure enough, we get I'm not going to go into this offense we showed in the previous video. That's detecting the reverse shell, but this is the one that is important, the one that indicates that a security module has actually been installed. And if these things happen, you definitely want to make sure that your Curera system detected. Notice the container ID. Notice all the details of the actual information, the security module that was actually installed. So it's all good stuff. And again, notice that only a portion of the information that was in the SysFlow are the ones that are parsed. As I mentioned in the previous video, you can expand your parser by adding additional custom property, and that's easy because this is all JSON. So I hope that this short series of videos shows you the value of SysFlow, what that is going to change, in my humble view, the way that we collect logs and intrinsically flow data from Linux machines, whether they are on-prem, but most importantly, if they are on the cloud, because that is where all these DevOps and containers and Kubernetes and OpenShift and all this magic actually plays along.